Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got a really fascinating set of materials today. We're using them almost like a ghost map, you could say. We're diving into the history, the folklore, the really vibrant culture of Puerto Rico, La Isla de Encanto, the Isle of Enchantment.
Exactly.
Hmm?
And our sources today, they're quite a mix. We've got detailed historical accounts, colonial stuff, but also local urban legends. And the specific reports from places known to be, well, haunted. The goal here isn't just listing ghost stories. It's about trying to figure out how all that history, those ancient battles, colonialism, even like modern accidents, how it all kind of bubbles up into these paranormal phenomena today.
Right. And it seems like if you ask locals, there's one spot that really stands out. We kind of have to start in Old San Juan, don't we? At Castillo San Felipe don Morro. El Morro.
Oh, absolutely. You have to. El Morro practically is Old San Juan in a way. It's this huge 16th century citadel. The Spanish built it to fend off attacks from the sea. Just try to imagine the sheer amount of violence these walls have seen over, 400 years. That's definitely one big reason the haunting is reportedly so intense.
And the sources also point out something else crucial. Its location. It's right beside the Santa Maria Magdalena de Pazzi Cemetery, that historic one. So you've got layers upon layers of battle deaths, plus formal burials, all kind of concentrated right there.
Yeah, exactly. And what's really fascinating is the main ghost people report seeing there. It's this woman, always in a white dress, sort of gliding along the ramparts. And the descriptions are consistent. You never see her face. The story goes she's looking for a lost lover. It's almost, it's a classic kind of ghost story motif you find in colonial settings.
That's a really good point. It's like the culture needs that romantic story, a tale of lost love, maybe to process the sheer scale of anonymous death and suffering from centuries of fighting.
Precisely. It kind of wraps up that historical trauma in a story that feels more human, more relatable. But then you also have the other stuff, the more visceral reports from employees now. They talk about hearing screams, specifically screams coming from the old dungeons.
Yeah.
You can only imagine what happened down there to prisoners, soldiers.
Yeah, chilling. Okay, so if El Morro was the spearhead of the defense, then Castillo San Cristobal, Fort San Cristobal, that was the shield, right, guarding the eastern side. But this fort, it has maybe an even scarier legend attached to it. The Gorrita del Diablo, the Devil's Watchtower.
Oh, that one's famous. And apparently that specific guard post was genuinely feared back in the day because soldiers stationed there, they'd vanish. And the accounts are really specific and kind of creepy. They'd only find their clothes and weapons left behind, nothing else.
Yeah.
So the immediate local belief, the devil himself was coming and just devouring them.
That's terrifying. But, I wonder, was it purely supernatural fear? Or maybe did the military leadership kind of use those stories, to keep discipline, stop soldiers from deserting?
That's a really sharp question. It's very possible the legend served both purposes. I mean, for the regular soldier, it's terrifying. But for the command, what an effective tool. If you run off, you don't just face court-martial, you face that devil. But the fortress also has another story, a completely different vibe. More about defiance, that tragic romance of Maria Dolores.
Yes. That one really stood out in the sources. So back in the 1700s, Maria, she's the daughter of the city's executioner, and she falls madly in love with this guy, Betancourt, who's a thief. And her own father has to execute him.
The layers there are just, wow. So after her father hangs Betancourt, Maria's completely devastated. She goes back and hangs herself right there beside him on the gallows. Then, when her father comes to deal with the bodies, he finds his own daughter there, next to the man he just killed. The shock apparently killed him right on the spot.
Unbelievable. So they're ghosts. They represent this ultimate act of defiance, right?
Yes.
Against society, against family duty. They're said to haunt the area where the gallows were. It's like a total rejection of the state's power, even after death.
It really is. So, okay, we've seen how the forts capture that colonial power, that military violence. Let's sort of shift gears now and see how that intensity carries over into the island's more modern era. Glamour, architecture, maybe starting with the Normandie Hotel.
The Normandie. Designed to look like that famous ocean liner, the SS Normandie. It opened in 1942, meant to be this super glamorous place for the elite. But almost immediately, like within the first year, that perfect image just shattered. A woman committed suicide jumping from the 7th floor.
And that event basically sealed its reputation. Cursed. The ghost stories are pretty standard, actually. A crying woman, sometimes in white, looking for a lost fiancé. But what's maybe more telling is the hotel's history since then. It's been abandoned, reopened, abandoned again, multiple times.
Do you think that cycle, the abandonment and reopening, is maybe tied to the idea of the curse? Or maybe it's like a reflection of Puerto Rico's economic ups and downs sometimes, like the glamour just can't quite stick?
That's a really insightful way to put it. The Normandy ghost isn't just about lost love. Maybe she's also about a lost promise, a kind of golden age that vanished almost as soon as it arrived, which is a real contrast to somewhere like El Teatro Tapia, which is all about endurance.
Right. El Teatro Tapia opened way back in 1832. It's an absolute gem. Oldest working theater on the island, oldest freestanding one under U.S. jurisdiction. It's seen everything.
And its main ghost is so specific. People report seeing this woman dressed in, like, Edwardian clothes. She appears in box 105 during shows, then just vanishes, like a ghostly season ticket holder who never misses opening night.
And then after hours, apparently, that's when things get really weird. Staff hear footsteps, whispers, but the creepiest. They report hearing this, like, phantom choir singing from the stage when everyone's gone home.
It's like the performance literally goes on after death.
Yeah, unsettling. Okay, so to kind of round out San Juan, we need to go from high culture to, well, total despair. Cárcel Oso Blanco, White Bear Prison.
Right. Oldest prison on the island.
Hmm.
Housed really violent criminals. And the conditions, the sort of call them inhuman. Just awful.
Yeah, sounds like a place just steeped in misery. Riots, murders, suicides. Just constant death and suffering. Until it was finally abandoned in 2004, then torn down in 2015.
So unlike the forts, where death was often, part of a military structure, Oso Blanco sounds like pure chaos and trapped misery. Even after they demolished the building, the sources say the site itself holds this intense, negative energy from its brutal history. A grim reminder.
And quickly before we move beyond San Juan, two other spots the sources mention. Hotel El Convento used to be a convent, right?
Yeah, a Carmelite convent. And the founder, Mother Superior Doña Ana de Lanzos, she and her nuns are apparently still seen walking around. People hear their robes swishing.
A very different vibe there. Duty, structure,
Yeah.
And then La Princesa Prison, 19th century. That one's haunted by shackled prisoners, but also linked to La Llorona.
Exactly, the Wailing Woman. Her story, the tragic mother, it's found all over Latin America, and it pops up here too, tied to this specific prison.
Interesting how these very local places still connect to bigger shared legends. Okay, let's leave the city behind. Let's get into the regional stuff, nature, cryptids, technology.
And you can't talk about regional Puerto Rican folklore, especially modern folklore, without talking about the Chupacabras. This wasn't some ancient myth. This blew up in Canóvanas around 1995.
And it wasn't just talk, right? People were finding actual physical evidence. Dead animals, goats, chickens, even cows totally drained of blood, always with these two weird little puncture wounds, usually on the neck or chest.
Yeah, very specific. And hundreds of people claimed they saw it, described it as this reptilian thing, red eyes, spikes down its back. It caused such a stir, such fear, that this big conspiracy theory started making the rounds.
Ah, yes, the idea that it was some kind of escaped military experiment. What does that tell you, that theory being so popular?
Well, it suggests maybe a deep-seated distrust, right? Anxiety about secret government stuff, hidden technology. The Chupacabras becomes this symbol for fear of the unknown, maybe manipulated forces. It got so intense, the mayor of Canóvanas actually organized an official hunt for it.
A mayor-led cryptid hunt. That says a lot. Okay, total opposite vibe now. A really specific, heartbreaking local story. Jacinto's well in Isabella.
Oh, Jacinto. Such a sad, unique tale. He was a farmer, incredibly devoted to his cow, so much so he'd actually tie himself to it when he walked it. One day, near this cliff, the cow stumbled, lost its balance, and pulled Jacinto down with it. Both died.
Wow. That image, a farmer literally tethered to his livelihood, it says so much about that connection to the land. And the legend says, if you go to that cliff and call out for the cow, the tide actually swells up, like it's angry.
Nature itself reacting with fury. Yeah, it's a story that perfectly captures that deep connection, but also the danger, the power of the elements. Speaking of danger, let's talk about Lodge's PR-116, known grimly as the Highway of the Dismembered.
Yeah, that name comes from the sheer number of really bad car accidents along that road, right? Catastrophic ones.
Exactly. And the haunting is, well, it's incredibly graphic. People report seeing dismembered figures, spirits of the victims, still walking or crawling along the roadside. It's not like the soldiers in the forts. This is the ghost of sudden, chaotic, modern violence, physically broken, reflecting how they died.
The trauma of progress, almost literally scarring the landscape. And that seems to extend even to infrastructure, like the Oaxaca Tunnel.
That railway tunnel opened in 1906.
Hmm.
It was basically haunted from the start. Yeah, many workers died just building it, dynamite accidents, landslides, dangerous work back then, a real tragedy of labor. And then as if that wasn't enough, a terrible train crash in 1936 killed dozens more people right there. That just feels cursed by industry.
So the result is this ongoing paranormal activity. The railway's been shut since '57, but locals still claim they see spirits, hear voices asking for help, and they hear the sound of a train coming, decades after the tracks went cold. It's the ghost of progress that costs too much.
And you see echoes of that elsewhere, too, like the sources mentioned Teatro Guayama, another theater where staff supposedly quit because of poltergeist stuff. It's like intense tragedy just leaves this residue.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. We've talked about colonial soldiers, defiant lovers, nuns doing their duty, modern accident victims. It really seems like Puerto Rico's legends are a direct reflection of its history, right? From the Spanish conquest right up to, like, construction disasters, it shapes who becomes a ghost.
Absolutely. And you see these patterns, don't you? Older anxieties about power, rebellion, duty, then more modern fears about technology, infrastructure failing, maybe secret experiments like the Chupacabras.
And then there's the bigger picture, Puerto Rico's actual location. It sits at one corner of the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Triangle. That whole area is already steeped in mysteries, disappearances, weird lights. So the island isn't just haunted by its own past, it's geographically positioned in a zone of unexplained phenomena.
It really puts things in perspective. It's history, but seen through this supernatural filter, which leads to a final thought, maybe for you to chew on. If Puerto Rico's intense history shapes its ghosts, why these specific ghosts? Why soldiers tied to a violent regime? Why lovers defying the rules? Why victims of industrialization's dark side?
Yeah, it seems the turbulence of the past isn't just in the history books. It's still walking the forts, crying in the hotels, maybe even crawling along the highways of La Isla de Encanto. The story, it seems, never really ends.